Hello. This Hey Rob is a little bit different in that it wasn't a question asked by any of you, but actually by my nephew. It came to me directly. He's been getting into D&D, he's about 11 years old, and he messaged me to say how his most recent game had gone. He first sent me some of the notes that he'd done in preparation for it and got me to review those for him, and it sounded like a good session, and so I told him so. And then he let me know that it had gone okay, but that things had happened that he wasn't happy with, and I could tell he was a little upset about it all. So I ended up writing him a massive sort of essay responding to each of his points and giving him some advice. And as I was writing it, I thought this would actually probably make a very good Hey Rob, because it's advice that I think a lot of you could benefit from as well. So for context, he ran a game where a minotaur kidnapped the mayor and they had to go and save him. And then when they did so, the mayor was ungrateful, and there was a bit of a twist that he refused to pay them the reward for it. And so murder hobos, as kids tend to be, they killed him. And so they got outlawed from the town, and then things went from bad to worse, and they ended up robbing a bank or something. That's pretty much the gist of the context needed for this. I will just read what I replied to him with a little bit of adapted for privacy and brevity, of course. Firstly, congrats on running the game. I'm so proud of you. And the Minotaur fight sounds epic. Just dangerous enough to down them both, but not so dangerous that you accidentally TPK. It makes the players feel like they've earned the win. Great work on the mayor twist. Every story's got to have an evil, selfish baddie who betrays them, especially if it's someone who has the support of the town and NPCs, and the protagonists are turned against them after giving him his comeuppance. I will warn you about a little potential pitfall here. Try to walk the balance between a good dramatic story having conflict, the protagonists needing something to fight against. The town are brainwashed by his evil rule, I guess we just have to work that much harder to prove we're not in the wrong. And going too far with it and making the players feel like the entire world is against them. The latter can trigger some people's anger and frustration at feeling a sense of injustice. We killed the monster and the evil mayor, and the town still hates us? That's not fair. I'm sure you're playing it fine, but just try and keep an ear and an eye out for the subtle difference, if they seem to be enjoying the idea of being outlaws, or if they're feeling hard done by for doing the town a service and getting chased out of town for it. Always, even in dangerous, tense stories, allow the characters moments of rest and reprieve here and there. Maybe they find other outlaws sympathetic to their plight. Maybe this wasn't their first time that the mayor screwed over adventurers, and maybe they meet some of them and form an alliance to try and sneak back into town and expose him for who he was. Give them some way to clear themselves, perhaps. Or maybe they enjoy being hated and don't bother with all that, just give them more guards and stuff to kill. Lean into them being evil. As long as everyone's having fun, it doesn't matter. But that leads me into my next big point, though. Everyone needs to be having fun, and that includes you. Most horror stories of bad D&D games come down to poor communication between the players and mismanaged expectations about the sort of games that everybody wants. Some like high fantasy epics, playing unstoppable demigods, and some like gritty, realistic, dangerous trolls into dungeons where they might die at any moment. Some like long roleplay and improvisation, shopping and downtime and talking to NPCs. Others like puzzles and riddles and minigames and tests and traps and challenges. And 100 more. None of these preferences are wrong, none of them are better, but if you like one style and they like a diametrically opposed style, it's unlikely to be easy to find common middle ground and find a game that you both like. And yes, sidebar, my 11-year-old nephew is nerdy enough to understand diametrically opposed. He is related to me after all. In those situations, it's perfectly okay to just accept that you are not a good fit for D&D table together, and you can find other hobbies to do with that friend while you find tables that fit your gaming style. I could, and probably will, address the individual points you've raised about the bank and the horse and the items, but I want to take a moment to go into something more broad and important first. Communication. A lot of people think that just because we can talk, we can communicate, but good communication is not a given, it's a skill set. Like anything, you can practice, learn, get better at it, and there are plenty of resources out there to help you with it. Understanding how to talk to someone without getting too emotional or angry or frustrated, being able to choose your words carefully and change your explanations when things are clearly not landing for them, challenging yourself to really listen and hear their point without just thinking of your next rebuttal, trying to see things from their point of view so that you can understand what the opposition or confusion is rooted in. These are all things that take time and effort to improve at, but oh boy is it something that will stand you in great stead to practice early. Good communication is key to all good relationships, whether platonic, familial, romantic, working, or any other kind of relationship. D&D and having to speak to troublesome players can be good practice for that. Next, I want to talk a little about what I think underlies most of these issues with your friend. It sounds like your buddy has the usual and very typical response to a role-playing game. It's natural, normal, and common to want the best there is. If given a choice between a gross sandwich and a nice one, we want the nice one. Given a choice between 20 quid and 100 quid, we'll take the 100. This class is better than that one, then I want to play this class. This horse is better than that one, I want this one. There's one analogy I heard from one of my favourite DMs, Brennan Lee Mulligan. He used it in an interview once. Players are like water in a river. They will always try to follow the path of least resistance. That is, they will always try and flow in a direct line down the mountain. If you let them, or make it too easy for them, they will get to the bottom, look back at their path, their journey, their story, and find it's a boring straight line that got to the bottom in no time flat. But if you put obstacles in their way, trials and challenges to overcome, they will still follow the path of least resistance, but that path now leads them to rush over cliffs, pool up in one place into a lake, and then break the banks and spill over into valleys, twisting, turning, squeezing through narrow rapids and meandering through wide plains. And when they get to the end, they'll look back at their path, their journey, their story, and see a gorgeous, complex, winding river that they're proud of taking months or years to complete. I'd say it's first vital for you to sit down with your friend and ask them what sort of game they think that they'll enjoy. This is something I like to do with all my players before we even start the campaign. I call it a session 0 as it's smart to do it early, but it's also smart to have a similar check-in session every so often in case preferences have changed. I'll send you a document I made that I like to use for my session 0s and check-in sessions, and maybe you'll find it useful in coming up with your own. I'll also link that below. You can find it for free in my merch store. Specifically, ask how dangerous they want the game to be. If they want a challenge, to feel like they've really earned their loot and accolades, try explaining that they need to accept there's no way to get a challenge if they're overpowered with items and feats and magic, etc. It's no more challenging to kill a dragon with a super powerful weapon and invincible armor than it is to kill a slug with your foot. Where's the challenge in it? If they instead say they want things easy, then that's fine, but try and clarify how easy. Ask them if they'd be happy being an immediate level 20 with epic boon feats and legendary items, and fighting 1 HP rats in a tavern. Chances are pretty high they'll say no, because if nothing's remotely challenging, there goes all conflict, and conflict's the heart of all good stories. This balance of just how hard to make your games is something you'll likely be doing your whole life as a DM. D&D's been around for over 50 years, and has had hundreds of millions of players. Over the years, the game's been tested, changed, adapted, improved, worked on, etc. by many teams of professional game designers, as well as the uncountable playtesters and players. Part of all of that work is in trying to balance the game. The monsters are able to do certain damage and have certain HP because they're designed to keep you at a decent challenge at the level you're at. If you start piling in magic and items and levels and feats and extra loot, you break the fundamental balance of the game, which ultimately won't be any fun anymore. So yeah, unfortunately it is part of your job as a DM to get good at assertively saying no when it's appropriate to do so. This is another invaluable life skill to learn early, so it's yet more good practice for you. A good motto to keep in mind is, no is a complete sentence. This means you don't need to justify or soften it. No means no, and it's okay to say no. It does not make you unlikable or rude to be strong about your convictions. Can I have a warhorse for free at level 1? No. This is one of the things he was upset about in the game. One of his friends got upset that he wouldn't let them have a warhorse. It's for their own good and the good of the story that they're made to earn their loot, save up, and buy the warhorse. Or maybe train their skills to a point where they can find, steal, and train one. Or take levels in ranger so that they can summon one. Whatever. Now, while no is a complete sentence, it doesn't always have to be as simple as no or yes. There's a technique in improvisation called yes and. This means you take what someone's offered in the scene and you accept it and build on it, rather than a bad improviser who ignores or undermines what's been offered and set up and tries something else. That's called steamrolling, and it's considered bad improvisation. If the two of us walked out onto a stage and you had in mind that we're in a supermarket for this scene, and I thought we're going to be in a police station, whoever speaks first gets to set that up. Ah, hello sir, welcome to the police station, what can I help you with? Good improv, and it applies strongly to D&D, is to yes and, by ditching your idea for the supermarket and just going along with the fact that we're in a police station now. Yeah, sorry to bother you, some guy on the street just turned me into a dog. We're in a police station? Yes and, I'm a talking dog? Yes and, so am I. Oh, how lucky for you. This happened to me a week ago and I've never been happier. It's a stupid example, but it gets across the concept of yes and. In improv, there is also no but, where you deny someone's offer but you give them an alternative. Police station, oh my. Seems the delusion gas has spread even further than we'd feared. And then there's yes but, where you can accept their offer but it comes with a caveat or setback. And there's no and, where you deny their offer and something worse happens too. It's tough to pull off well in good improv, but it can be useful in D&D. For instance, can I have a warhorse for free at level 1? Yes and. Sure, and I'll say it comes with a proper saddle and saddlebags and barding too. Can I have a warhorse for free at level 1? Yes, but. Yeah, sure, but it is on loan from your noble father and he might ask for it back at any time. Can I have a warhorse for free at level 1? No, but. Not a warhorse, sorry, but I'll let you start with a pony and the pony can level up to a warhorse later. Can I have a warhorse for free at level 1? No, and. No, sorry, warhorses are very rare in this part of my world, you might never get one. Here's a trick for you to use. I like to think of my d20 rolls as one good way to take some of that bad guy off of me. Being the one to say no all the time can lead you to feeling like the players are against you. But if he asks for a horse and you say, well, let's see what the dice say, you can take some of that pressure off yourself. For instance, maybe if he rolls a nat 20, you'll let him have a warhorse. Maybe if he rolls a 12 to 19, he'll get a riding horse. Maybe an 8 to 11, he gets a sickly riding horse that's only got half HP and has a 5 foot fewer speed. Maybe if he rolls a 2 to 7, he gets a tiny pony, and on a nat 1, he'll get nothing at all. Something like that. I made those numbers up on the fly. You'll have to think about the math chance of rolling those things and how likely they are to happen. And he is as much of a math nerd as me, so he probably would jump at the chance to think about probability and chance like I do. Be aware though, if you allow for a roll for it, you have to be okay with the dice deciding that, yep, he gets that warhorse. Never ask for a roll just expecting that he won't roll a 20 and you won't have to deal with it, only for him to roll a 20 and you have to go back on your word. And finally, on the warhorse topic, don't forget that there is a cost to these things in the first place. Ponies cost 30 gold, draft horse cost 50 gold, riding horse cost 75 gold, and a warhorse cost 400 gold. So if he wanted a warhorse, he needs to pony up. I've probably given you plenty to think about already, but I find it hard to stop once I start, so I've got more to say. You mentioned that they somehow persuaded the guards to give them the bank's money? This confuses me a little. How did they somehow persuade them? If you clearly didn't want it to happen, or you think it couldn't have happened, how did it happen? If a task's impossible, they don't succeed, even if they roll a nat 20 and have a plus 200 modifier. Persuading a bank's guard to just hand them all the bank's money probably falls into the realm of not even if you rolled 4 nat 20s in a row. But I could see some situations where I would allow it. Maybe it's a sting operation to catch them in the act of committing a crime. Maybe the money's tainted or cursed and the bank is happy to get rid of it. Maybe the guard is secretly a criminal and is testing them to offer them entry to his thieves' guild. Maybe the teller is enchanted by some malicious fairy or vampire into complying with whatever's asked of them. Or maybe it was more intimidation than persuasion and they're just straight up bank robbers now. However, if they just walked into the bank and said, I'm going to persuade them to give me all their money, and then rolled a die and said, I got a 22, so he gives me all the money. That's not how D&D works. Unless you as the DM have called for the roll, they don't get to roll. Any roll made without me asking for it counts for nothing. This is because, as the DM, I can make a call on all of the above situations that they don't know about. I can make a decision on whether the teller is possessed, or the guard is a criminal, etc. Knowing that, I can then set the DC for how difficult it's going to be for the person of their reputation to persuade for whatever it is they're attempting to do. And keep in mind, a DC 20 is something easy enough for a regular commoner with a 10 in each stat to achieve 5% of the time. It's perfectly okay to set a DC all the way up to 30 or even 40. So if you allowed something you regret now, you can just talk to them out of game and say, I was flustered and pressured in the moment into making a decision, I'm going to retcon it. Or you can find a way to make it make sense in the game. Maybe they do get given the money, but they only get given one small pouch of gold because the teller was confused and thought they were just asking to make a withdrawal from their own account. Last point before I wrap up, you mentioned regretting giving out too many magic items. Firstly, good to communicate that to your players as above. I felt pressured in the moment, I caved, I allowed for more than I should have. Or maybe, I'm new to this and I didn't realise how unbalanced those items would be, my bad. If these people are the sort of people you want in your life, they will be kind, caring, and compassionate. Their response should be, well, it sucks to lose it, but if you say so, that's fine. Anything less, don't be afraid to reanalyze your friends. I've had to cut some friends out of my life a few times when I realised they're not the sort of people I want to surround myself with. It can be tough to recognise and tougher to do, but it is worth it. After addressing it with them, you can discuss a fix. Sure, you can take the items back and pretend like they never got them in the first place, but what if you turned it into the story? Maybe the items turn out to be single use, and then they break, or they run out of charges for the day, or they disappear. Maybe to use them, they realise they have to willingly submit to being cursed by them or possessed by the items while ever they use them. Maybe these items, being so powerful, attract the attention of pickpockets, bandits, professional thieves, and assassins. Or maybe the person they belonged to has noticed them missing and is sending out bounty hunters to look for them now. Maybe the item simply starts as a weaker version of itself and unlocks and improves as they level up. Lots of options to consider as ways to dig yourself out of any hole in D&D. Okay, to wrap up then, you mentioned maybe needing a break from DMing. I would say that this could be a very good or very bad idea. To know which, you'll need to have a really honest internal dialogue with yourself. Sit and think about it and what your reasons are for wanting the break. If it's because you're not enjoying it, you don't like the pressure of running the games for these people anymore, you don't have the drive for D&D or getting better at it, you don't have the time or energy to put into preparing the sessions or anything like these, then yeah, it might be a great idea to take a break. But if your reason for wanting a break, as I suspect it might be, but only you can know for sure, is because this is a frightening new experience and you're trepidatious and anxious, you realise it takes skills that you don't immediately naturally have, you're worried about the amount of growth it requires from you, you're comparing yourself to others and thinking you're not good enough, you're concerned you won't ever be good enough, and so on. Maybe you're running from the role because it's easier. In that case, taking a break will not be a good idea. These situations are how we grow most, how we discover who we are and what our limits are, and how we surprise ourselves with just how much we can actually do when we stick with something difficult and see it through. Anyway, hope this massive essay was enough to help you, bud. I'm super proud of you both in and out of regards to D&D. Love you a lot. Never be shy about getting in touch about anything at all. Always here for you. Uncle Robbie. Well, you may not be an 11-year-old in Yorkshire playing D&D for the first time with your friends, but hopefully you found something in there that's actually useful to you, regardless of where you are, how old you are, and how long you've been playing D&D. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.